I'm standing in the back of the Street Regis ballroom, and my husband is kissing another woman in a wedding dress. Not a mistress sneaking around in hotel rooms, not some side piece he's hiding from the world. His wife. Legal, public, celebrated. The string quartet is playing Pachelbel, white roses everywhere, $200 a stem, I'm guessing. The same florist we used for our wedding 23 years ago. I can see her now, that perky little brunette from Brooklyn, arranging centerpieces like she didn't just do this exact job for me 2 decades earlier. Damian Monroe, my husband, 58, silver-haired, sharp-jawed, the kind of man who wears Tom Ford to breakfast, is holding Serena Vale's face like she's made of porcelain. She's 29. Blonde. Wearing my grandmother's sapphire earrings. The ones he told me got stolen during our trip to the Hamptons last summer. The guests applaud. 100 people in Valentino and Hermes, standing, cheering, crying. Someone's aunt dabs her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. A bridesmaid can't be older than 25 is filming the whole thing on her iPhone, giggling. Not one person looks confused. Not one person seems surprised. Because they all knew. His business partners, his golf buddies, his sister Margaret, who I had coffee with last Tuesday and who looked me straight in the eye and said, "Damian's been working so hard lately. You're lucky to have a man so devoted." Devoted. I was the only one who didn't know. I drove here tonight because Damian told me he had a client dinner at the Street Regis, said he'd be home late, kissed my forehead before he left. I found the valet ticket in his jacket pocket this morning, with a note scribbled on the back. Ceremony starts at 7, don't be late. S. I thought it was a typo, a joke, maybe something for a surprise party. I'm 51 years old. I've been married to this man for over 2 decades. I raised his daughter from his first marriage. I sat through his mother's funeral and held his hand while he cried. I gave up my career in architecture so he could build his empire. Monroe Capital, $600 million in assets, featured in Forbes, lauded as one of New York's most visionary investors. And he's been planning a second wedding for months. The officiant says, "You may now kiss the bride." Damian leans in, the room erupts. Serena throws her arms around his neck, laughing, radiant, like she just won the lottery. She did. I'm still frozen near the coat check. My hands are shaking. I'm wearing the cashmere sweater Damian bought me for Christmas. My wedding ring, 3 carats, platinum, is still on my finger. Then Damian turns. He sees me, and he smirks. Not banits, not guilt. A smirk. He leans down, whispers something into Serena's ear. She glances back at me, her eyes cold, assessing, like she's looking at a stain on the carpet, and then she giggles, actually giggles. Damian straightens his tie, strides toward me with the confidence of a man who's never been told no in his life. "Kiara." His voice is smooth. Calm. Like we're meeting for brunch. "I didn't think you'd come." I can't speak. My throat is dry, my chest is tight. He sighs, like I'm inconveniencing him. "We'll talk about this later, you should go." A woman steps between us. Margaret. His sister. The one I've spent every Thanksgiving with for 23 years. The one whose kids I helped put through college. She puts a hand on my shoulder, firm, condescending. "Kiara, sweetheart, you shouldn't be here. Damian told us you've been unwell." "Unwell?" He said you've been struggling. Erratic. "The doctors are trying to adjust your medications." "I don't take medications." "I've never taken medications." "It's okay," Margaret says softly, like she's talking to a child. "No one blames you. But this isn't the place. You need to go home and rest." Behind her, the guests are staring, whispering. A few of them look genuinely concerned. One woman, someone I've met at charity galas, someone whose name I can't remember, shakes her head sadly, like I'm a tragedy in progress. Damian leans in close. His cologne Creed Aventus, $400 a bottle, I bought it for him last Christmas, fills my nose. "Don't make a scene," he whispers. "You'll only embarrass yourself." He pats my arm. Turns. Walks back to Serena. She slips her hand into his. They face the crowd together, smiling, glowing, perfect. The band starts playing again. Someone pops champagne. The room shifts back into celebration mode, and I'm just standing there. Invisible. Erased. I don't scream. I don't cry. I don't throw a glass or rip down the floral arrangements or do any of the things a woman is supposed to do when her world implodes. I just turn around, walk to the exit, head in my car, and drive home. That night, sitting alone in our $30 million Upper East Side townhouse, 5 stories, 12,000 square feet, marble floors imported from Carrara, a rooftop garden Damien never used, I realized something. My husband didn't just cheat. He asked me. And he'd been planning it for a very long time. But here's the thing about being invisible. No one sees you coming. The smell of burnt toast brings it all back. I'm standing in my kitchen, our kitchen the morning after the wedding that wasn't mine, and the toaster pops, and suddenly I'm 27 again, living in that cramped studio in Astoria, burning bread at 5 a.m. because I had to be at my first job by 6. I worked 3 jobs back then: receptionist at a law firm in Midtown, weekend shifts at a bookstore in Park Slope, freelance drafting work I did at night, hunched over my desk until my eyes burned, because Damien had a vision and visions don't pay rent. He was 32. Handsome. Ambitious. He'd just started Monroe Capital with money borrowed from everyone who'd ever believed in him. He'd wake up at noon, drink coffee I'd made hours earlier, kiss my forehead and say, "One day, Key, one day we'll have everything." I believed him. I gave him my 20s. My early 30s. The years when I should have been building my own career, my own name. I had a degree from Pratt. Professors told me I had talent. But Damien needed someone to answer phones, manage his calendar, meet clients when he was stuck in traffic, someone who wouldn't ask too many questions. So I became that person. I remember the night his mother got sick, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. She had maybe 6 months. Damien looked at me across the dinner table. We were eating takeout from that Italian place on Lexington, the one that closed 5 years ago, and he said, "I can't do this, Key. I can't watch her die." So I did. For 2 years, not 6 months, 2 years I moved into Patricia Monroe's brownstone in Brooklyn Heights and became her caretaker. I learned to change IV bags. I held her hand through chemo. I read her poetry because she liked frost. I sang her to sleep when the pain was too much. Damien visited twice. Both times he stayed less than an hour. At her funeral, he cried into my shoulder and told everyone I was a saint. His sister Margaret hugged me, said I was family. His business partners shook my hand. Said Damien was lucky to have me. Lucky. I never asked for gratitude. That's not why you do these things. You do them because love isn't a transaction. It's a choice you make every single day. I made that choice for 23 years. When Damien said the company was in trouble, this was 2019, right before COVID, I didn't hesitate. He came home late one night, hands shaking, and said investors were pulling out. Said we'd lose everything. The apartment? The business? Our future? How much do you need? I asked. He looked at me like he'd been holding his breath for weeks. $200,000. I had $236,000 in my savings account, money my father left me when he died. Money I'd been saving since I was 19, back when I thought I'd open my own firm someday. Design buildings. Leave something behind with my name on it. I wired it the next morning. Damien kissed me, told me I saved his life. Took me to dinner at per se, $650 a person, wine not included, and held my hand across the table. "I'll pay you back," he said, "every cent, with interest." He never did. But that wasn't the point. You don't keep score when you love someone. You don't count the hours you stayed awake, or the dreams you deferred, or the parts of yourself you gave away. You just love them. If you've ever given everything to someone who later turned away, you'll understand this part. You'll know what it feels like to build a life with your bare hands, only to realize you were building it alone. Thank you to everyone who helps keep these stories alive. Every word you share, every act of kindness helps protect those who still believe in family. I think about the morning I signed the deed to the townhouse. We were sitting in a lawyer's office in Fide. Damien said putting the property solely in his name would protect the business. Some legal thing about liability, shielding assets. I didn't understand all of it, but I trusted him. "It's still ours, Key," he said, squeezing my hand. "This is just paperwork." I signed. The lawyer, a man in his 60s with kind eyes, looked at me for a long moment, like he wanted to say something. But he didn't. He just slid the papers into a folder and shook Damien's hand. I remember walking out of that office into the August heat, Damien's arm around my shoulders, and feeling something I couldn't name. Not doubt, not yet. Just a whisper. A small, quiet voice that said, "You just gave away the only proof you were ever here." I ignored it. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You silence the whispers. You trust. You keep building. Even when the foundation is already cracked. It's Margaret's laugh that breaks me. 3 days after the wedding, I'm sitting alone in the townhouse, my ghost house, the place I'm apparently still allowed to haunt when I hear voices downstairs. Damien's hosting a dinner party. For his other family. I shouldn't go down there, I know that, but grief makes you reckless. I stand at the top of the spiral staircase, hidden in shadow, and I listen. Margaret's drunk. I can tell by the way her words slide together, syrupy and loose. She's talking to someone, a woman I don't recognize, probably one of Serena's bridesmaids. Honestly, it's tragic, Margaret slurs. Kiara gave him the best years of her life. But you can't expect a man like Damien to stay with someone so ordinary. The other woman laughs. It's a cruel sound, performative. And Serena's pregnant? She asks. 8 weeks, due in May, Damien's over the moon. My hand grips the banister. The marble is cold, solid. I need something solid. What happens to the house? The woman asks. Margaret lowers her voice, but not enough. Serena gets it. Once the divorce is finalized, Damien already promised. She deserves it, don't you think? Fresh start. New baby. This place has too many memories of her. They laugh again, clink their glasses. I go back upstairs. I don't cry. My body won't let me. It's like I've run out. Instead, I wait. Midnight. The guests leave. Damien goes to bed in the guest suite on the 4th floor, the one with the view of the park. He hasn't slept in our bedroom in 6 months. I didn't notice when it started. Isn't that funny? You don't notice when someone stops coming to bed. You just wake up alone one day and realize it's been that way for a while. I go to his study. The door's locked, but I know where he keeps the spare key, taped under the bookshelf. He's been using the same hiding spot since we lived in Astoria. The room smells like him. Leather, expensive cologne, old cigarettes he thinks I don't know about. I start with the desk, tax documents, business contracts, nothing. Then I see it, a locked drawer in the filing cabinet. I don't have the key for this one, so I use a letter opener. It takes 10 minutes. My hands are shaking so badly I almost drop it twice. The lock clicks. Inside, there's a manila folder. I pull it out, open it. The first document is a marriage certificate. Damien Elias Monroe and Serena Jade Vale. Married in Antigua. Date: September 14th. 6 months ago. The second document is a revised will. Everything, every asset, every account, every property goes to Serena Vale and the unborn child of Damien Monroe. My name appears once. At the bottom. Kiara Lynn Monroe is deemed mentally unfit to manage joint assets and is hereby excluded from estate distribution. Mentally unfit. The third document is a notarized statement signed by 2 doctors I've never met, claiming I've been treated for delusional episodes and erratic behavior. I've never seen a psychiatrist in my life. I hear footsteps. Damien's standing in the doorway. He's wearing silk pajamas. His hair's messy. He looks annoyed, like I've interrupted his sleep. What are you doing? His voice is flat. Not angry. Just tired. I hold up the papers. What is this? He crosses the room in 3 strides, yanks the folder out of my hands. That's private. Private? My voice cracks. You married someone else. You wrote me out of your will. You told people I'm insane. He sighs, runs a hand through his hair. Kiara. Don't be dramatic. Dramatic. I was going to tell you, he says, eventually, but you've been so unstable lately. I didn't want to upset you. I'm not unstable. You broke into my office. Because you've been lying to me. He steps closer, his jaw tightens, and for the first time in 23 years, I see it. He hates me. Sign the divorce papers, he says quietly. Quietly. I'll let you keep your pension. Maybe the apartment in Brooklyn if you don't make this difficult. Make this difficult? Serena's pregnant. I'm starting a family. A real family. You and I. We've been over for years, Key. You just didn't want to see it. He turns to leave. Then he pauses. Looks back. Don't make this harder than it has to be. You're a smart woman. You know how this ends. He walks out. I hear him on the stairs, hear him knock on Serena's door, our guest room, the one I decorated last spring. I hear her voice, soft and sleepy. Is she gone? She's harmless, Damien says. Old women break easily. The door closes. I stand there, trembling, staring at the empty folder in my hands. 23 years. 3 jobs, $200,000. My father's inheritance. My youth. My name on a deed I signed away. All of it, gone. If you've ever trusted someone so deeply that their betrayal made you question your own worth, you're not alone. Thank you to everyone who helps me tell these stories. Your support keeps this space alive for those who still believe that truth, somehow, will always find its way. I walk to the window, look out at the city, the lights, the buildings I used to dream of designing, and something inside me, something I thought had died, starts to wake up. Old women break easily. He has no idea what he's done. The house is so quiet now. Even the walls seem to avoid me. I wake up at 6 a.m., like I always have. The light comes through the bedroom window the same way it did yesterday, and the day before, and every day for the past 12 years. But something's different. The air feels thinner, like the house is holding its breath. I go downstairs. Rosa, our housekeeper, my housekeeper, the woman I hired 9 years ago when her daughter was sick and she needed work, won't look at me. She's wiping down the counters with her back turned, shoulders tense. Good morning, Rosa. She doesn't answer. Just keeps wiping. The same spot. Over and over. I open the cabinet where I keep my coffee mug, the blue one with the chipped handle. I've used it every morning since we moved into this house. It's gone. In its place, a neat row of white porcelain mugs, each one monogrammed with a looping S. Serena's. I stand there, staring at the cabinet, and I realize I'm disappearing in my own home. I pour coffee into one of her mugs. It feels wrong in my hand. Too light, too perfect. Rosa leaves the room without a word. I sit at the kitchen island, the one I picked out, the Carrara marble I spent 3 weeks choosing, and I drink my coffee alone. Upstairs, I hear laughter. Serena's voice. High, bright, carefree. Then Damien's. Lower. Warm. The kind of warmth he used to save for me. I used to think loneliness was about being alone, but it's not. Loneliness is sitting in a room full of people who pretend you don't exist. I call my son. Not Damien's son, mine, Julian, 26, living in Boston, working some tech job I don't fully understand. We used to talk every Sunday. He'd call, tell me about his week, ask if I was eating enough. The phone rings. And rings. Voicemail. Hi, this is Julian. Leave a message. Jules, it's Mom. Just call me when you can. Please. I hang up. He doesn't call back. 3 days later, I try again. Voicemail. A week after that, I send a text. Are you okay? He reads it. I can see the little check marks turn blue. He doesn't reply. Later, I find out why. Margaret tells me drunk again, careless again at a charity luncheon I'm no longer invited to but show up to anyway, because I'm still on the donor list and no one thought to remove my name. Oh, Kiara, she says, touching my arm like we're friends. Julian's just trying to protect himself. Damien explained everything. About your episodes. Episodes. He said you've been calling him at all hours, saying paranoid things. Julian's worried about you. I feel my face go numb. I called him twice. Margaret smiles. Pats my hand. Of course, sweetheart. I'm sure it feels like twice. She walks away. I stand there, holding a glass of champagne I didn't ask for, surrounded by women in Chanel who won't meet my eyes. One of them a woman I've known for 15 years, whose daughter I helped get into Columbia, leans over to her friend and whispers, loud enough for me to hear. I heard she had a breakdown, attacked Serena at the wedding. I didn't go near Serena. I didn't attack anyone. But it doesn't matter. The story is already written. If you've ever sat in a room so quiet it started to echo your thoughts, you'll understand this silence. Thank you to those who help keep these stories alive. Your kindness helps give voice to people who've been forgotten, who sit alone in their pain, waiting to be seen again. I stop going out. What's the point? I stay in the townhouse. My ghost house. The place I built with money I earned, decorated with care, filled with years of my life. Serena redecorates the living room. She has the curtains replaced. The ones I chose, soft linen, cream-colored, perfect for the morning light, are gone. Now there's heavy velvet, dark gray. The room feels like a tomb. She moves her things into the guest suite on the 3rd floor, then the 2nd floor, then the main bedroom. Our bedroom. One morning I walk past and see her clothes in my closet. My dresses pushed to the side, crammed into a corner. Her things spread out, taking space, claiming territory. I close the door. Go back to the guest room I've been sleeping in, the smallest one, the one we used to give to visitors who stayed less than a weekend. I lie down on the bed. Stare at the ceiling. Count the cracks in the plaster. There are 11. I think about my father. The way he used to sit with me on the porch of our old house in Staten Island, before he got sick, before the cancer took him. He'd smoke his pipe and say, "Kiara, you're tougher than you think. Don't ever forget that." I forgot. Or maybe I just stopped believing it. Was I really that blind? Did I miss the signs? Or were there no signs to miss? Did I give too much, or was I never enough? The questions circle. Vultures in my head. I don't have answers. Just silence. And the slow, suffocating realization that I've become a stranger in the life I built. But I'm still here. Broken, quiet, forgotten. But here. And sometimes, that's enough. I'm not supposed to be in this part of the house. That's what Rosa told me this morning, eyes down, voice barely a whisper. Miss Serena says the East Wing is off limits now, for renovations. There are no renovations. But I nod. Say nothing. Go back to my small room like a good ghost. Except tonight, I don't stay there. It's past midnight when I hear voices from Damien's study. The same study I broke into 2 weeks ago. The same room where I found the marriage certificate, the will, the documents that called me insane. I move quietly. Years of walking these floors taught me which boards creak. The doors cracked open. Just enough. I stand in the hallway, in shadow, and I listen. Damien's voice first, smooth, confident. The motion to freeze her accounts goes through Monday. My lawyer says it's airtight. Amen, responds Paul Hendricks, Damien's attorney. I've met him at dinner parties. He always complimented my cooking. Once we establish incompetence, you'll have full conservatorship. She won't be able to touch a dime without your approval. Serena laughs. That high, bright sound I've come to hate. So by summer she'll be in assisted living, right? Damien pauses. I can picture him swirling his scotch, the way he does when he's pleased with himself. Earlier, if we push. There's a facility in Connecticut. Very discreet. They specialize in early-onset dementia cases. I don't have dementia. I don't have anything. Paul speaks again. And the rezoning bill passed last week. The mansion's value just jumped to $42 million. Maybe more if you hold out. $42 million. We bought this house for $8 million. Serena squeals. Actually squeals. Babe, we could get the penthouse in Tribeca and the villa in Tuscany. Damien chuckles. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. First we sell, then we celebrate. What about her son? Paul asks. Julian. Does he suspect anything? He thinks his mother's losing it, Damien says. I made sure of that. Couple of phone calls. Told him she's been erratic, paranoid, calling him at strange hours. He hasn't spoken to her in weeks. Serena giggles again. God, you're good. I've been planning this for 2 years, sweetheart. Every piece in place. By spring, Kiara Monroe will be a legal incompetent in a memory care unit and will be $30 million richer. 2 years. I stand there, hand pressed against the wall, heart pounding so hard I'm sure they'll hear it. This was never about love. It was never about Serena being younger, prettier, more exciting. It was about erasing me so they could cash out. Paul's voice again, Keeter now. What if she fights? Damien laughs. Cold. Final. She won't. Kiara's too kind, too trusting. She'll sign whatever I put in front of her because she still thinks, deep down, that I'm a good man. Silence. Then Serena, soft and satisfied. Old women break so easily. I've heard enough. I step back. Slowly. Carefully. Go back to my small room. Close the door. Sit on the edge of the bed. And for the first time in weeks, I don't cry. I think. If you've ever found truth in the quiet moments after pain, you know what this part feels like. Thank you to everyone who supports these stories. Your kindness keeps hope alive for people still finding their voice after betrayal. I've spent 2 decades being kind, trusting, believing the best in people. And they used it against me. But here's the thing about being underestimated. Here's the thing about being dismissed as weak, or old, or easy to break. No one sees you coming. I open my laptop, the one Damien doesn't know I still have, and I start making calls. I may have been blind for years, but now I can see them all clearer than ever. There comes a point when silence stops meaning defeat. It becomes preparation. I sit in the small guest room, the one they've allowed me to occupy in my own house, and I stare at the laptop screen. It's 3 a.m., the house is quiet. Damien and Serena are asleep 4 floors above me, wrapped in sheets I picked out, in a bed I chose. But I'm not thinking about them anymore. I'm thinking about documents, numbers, dates, facts. For years, I mistook generosity for love. Now, I'm learning the quiet math of self-respect. I start with the filing cabinet in Damien's study. I go back down there at dawn, while they're still sleeping. I photograph everything. The marriage certificate from Antigua. The revised will. The psychiatric evaluations from doctors I've never met. The financial statements showing how he's been moving money into offshore accounts with only his name and Serena's. Each photograph is a knife cutting through chains. I don't take the originals. That would tip him off. I just document. Save everything to a cloud drive he doesn't know exists. Then I call Robert Chen. He was my father's lawyer. Retired now, living in a brownstone in Brooklyn Heights, spending his days reading mystery novels and playing chess in Prospect Park. I haven't spoken to him in 6 years, not since we settled my father's estate. Kiara? His voice is warm, surprised. It's been a long time. I need your help, Robert. There's a pause. Then, tell me everything. I do. When I finish, he's quiet for a long moment. Bigamy is illegal in New York, he says finally. If Damien married Serena while still legally married to you, that second marriage is void. Everything that follows the will, the asset transfers, it's all fraudulent. Can we prove it? We can. But Kiara, listen to me. Men like Damien don't go down easy. He has lawyers, money, reputation. Are you ready for this? I look around the small room. At the single bed. The bare walls. The life I've been reduced to. Yes. Good. Give me 48 hours. I hang up. Then I do something I should have done years ago. I go to the bank. Our accounts, mine and Damien's, have always been joint. I never questioned it. Why would I? We were married. Partners. Team. But now I open a new account, in my name only. The banker, a young woman with kind eyes, walks me through the process. You'll need to transfer funds, she says. How much? I think about the $236,000 I wired to Damien in 2019. The money my father left me, money I gave freely, out of love. Everything that's mine, I say. Every deposit I made. Every dollar that came from my inheritance, my work, my name. She types, scrolls, calculates. That would be approximately $340,000. I nod. Transfer it. Today. She does. And just like that, I take back what was always mine. It's funny how silence can sound like thunder when guilt starts to echo. The next morning, my phone starts ringing. Damien, then Serena, then Margaret, then Paul Hendricks, Damien's lawyer. 12 calls in 2 hours. I don't answer. I sit in a small cafe on Lexington, drinking coffee, watching the city wake up. My phone buzzes on the table. Message after message. Kiara, we need to talk. Where are you? Why did you move money without telling me? This is illegal. You're violating our agreement. What agreement? The one where you erase me and take everything? I silence the phone. Order another coffee. Let them panic. They taught me that love meant giving. Today, I'm teaching myself that love can also mean stopping. That afternoon, Robert calls. I found something, he says. In your father's original estate documents. What? A clause. He added it 3 months before he died. It says if you're ever removed from the townhouse under duress or coercion, full ownership of your inherited share reverts solely to you. Not joint, just you. My breath catches. How much is my share? Your father contributed $600,000 to the down payment when you and Damien bought the house. At today's value, $42 million, your protected share would be roughly 30%. About $12 million. $12 million. But Kiara, Robert continues, there's more. Damien put the house in his name to protect business assets, right? Yes. That was fraud. If he misrepresented ownership to you, and if we can prove you were coerced, you might have a claim to the entire property. The entire property. I close my eyes, see my father's face, hear his voice from that porch in Staten Island. Kiera, you're tougher than you think. He knew. Somehow he knew. What do? I ask. We file a claim, quiet, fast, before Damien knows what's happening. I have a contact, a real estate attorney who specializes in marital fraud. She's expecting your call. He gives me her number. I save it. Then I make one more call. To a private buyer. A philanthropic developer Robert recommended. Someone who builds affordable housing. Someone who'll pay cash and close in 48 hours. I have a property, I say. Upper East Side. 42 million. Are you interested? There's a pause. Send me the details. I do. 2 hours later, he calls back. Deal. I'll have my attorney contact yours. We close Friday. Friday. 3 days from now. For the first time in weeks, I smile. I don't pack anything. Don't take a single photograph off the walls. Don't move a dish. I want Damien to walk into the destruction with everything still in place. I want him to see exactly what he's lost. Revenge isn't power. Justice is precision. And Friday morning, at 9 a.m., I have an appointment to sign the papers that will change everything. Friday. 7 p.m. I'm standing across the street from the townhouse, wrapped in my father's old coat, the one that still smells faintly of his cologne and pipe tobacco. The November air is sharp. It cuts through the fabric, but I barely feel it. I watch the black Mercedes pull up to the gate. Damien steps out first. Designer suit, confident stride. Serena follows, laughing at something on her phone, her belly just starting to show under her cashmere wrap. Paul Hendricks, the lawyer, emerges last, briefcase in hand. They've just come from dinner. I know because Margaret posted about it on Instagram 40 minutes ago, celebrating new beginnings. With a photo of champagne flutes and Serena's ring-covered hand resting on Damien's. Damien approaches the gate, reaches for his key card. Swipes it. Nothing happens. He tries again. The gate stays closed. He frowns, pulls out his phone, probably calling Rosa or the building manager. I watch him pace. Watch Serena's smile fade. Watch Paul check his watch, annoyed. Then the new security guard hired by the new owner this morning steps out of the guardhouse. Can I help you? He asks. Polite, professional. Damien straightens, his voice sharp with authority. I'm Damien Monroe. I live here. The system's malfunctioning. The guard glances at his tablet. I'm sorry, sir. This property no longer belongs to Damien Monroe. Silence. Damien blinks. Excuse me? The property was sold, closed this afternoon at 2 p.m. Serena steps forward, voice rising. That's impossible. We live here. The guard remains calm. I have the documentation if you'd like to see it, ma'am. Paul pushes between them. There must be a mistake. I'm Mr. Monroe's attorney. I would have been notified. No mistake, sir. That's when Damien sees it. The sign stretched across the front gate, white letters on black canvas, sold. His face goes white, then red. Who authorized this? The guard doesn't flinch. The legal owner, sir. I step out of the shadows. Cross the street. Walk toward them. Damien sees me. His eyes widen, then narrow. Kiera. My name comes out like venom. What the hell did you do? I stop a few feet away, meet his eyes. My voice is calm, steady. I sold my mansion. Quietly, legally, and permanently. Your mansion? He laughs. It's a terrible sound. Bitter, disbelieving. This house is in my name. You can't. I can. I pull a folder from my bag, hand it to him. You might want to read page 7, the clause my father added 3 months before he died. Damien snatches it, flips through, his hands start to shake. Paul leans over his shoulder, reading. His face drains of color. Jesus Christ, Damien. She had legal grounds to claim full ownership. Serena grabs Damien's arm. What does that mean? It means, I say, looking at her directly for the first time, that when Damien put this house solely in his name to protect business assets, he committed fraud. And when my father discovered Damien was lying about financial matters, he added a protection clause. If I was ever removed from this property under duress, which, by the way, Includes being called mentally incompetent and threatened with assisted living full ownership reverted to me. Damien's jaw clenches. You couldn't have sold it. Not that fast. Cash buyer. Closed in 48 hours. A philanthropic developer. He's turning it into affordable housing units. I pause. Your legacy, Damien. Low-income families living in the house you tried to steal from me. Serena's voice cracks. But my things are in there. My clothes. The nursery we just started. Trespassing, the guard says quietly. Ma'am, you're trespassing. A crowd is forming. Neighbors stepping onto their stoops. Phones coming out. Someone, I think it's Margaret's friend from 3 doors down, is filming. Damien steps toward me. His face is twisted with rage. You can't do this. I'll sue you. I'll destroy you. I don't move. With what, Damien? I hand him a second folder. That's proof of bigamy. Your marriage to Serena is void, which means her claim to any assets is void. It also includes evidence of elder abuse, specifically falsifying psychiatric records to declare me incompetent, and forged signatures on financial documents. Paul's face is ashen. Damien, if this is accurate? It's accurate, I say. I have 3 attorneys and a forensic accountant who'll testify. I step closer to Damien, close enough to whisper. You told Serena old women break easily. His eyes meet mine. You were wrong. I hand him one more document. That's a restraining order. You're not allowed within 500 feet of me. If you violate it, you go to jail. Serena starts crying. Loud, ugly sobs. Where are we supposed to go? I look at her. This woman who wore my grandmother's earrings, who laughed about putting me in assisted living, who's carrying a child in a marriage that doesn't legally exist. I don't know, Serena. But I'm sure you'll figure it out. You're resourceful. I turn, walk back to the Blacktown car waiting at the curb. Behind me, Damien screams. Kiara, you can't do this! But I can. And I did. I slide into the back seat. The driver pulls away. In the rearview mirror, I see Damien collapse against the gate, hands gripping the bars, screaming at a house that's no longer his. Serena stands frozen, mascara running down her face. Paul is already on his phone, probably calling someone to explain how badly he failed. And me? I'm driving away. Free. After the verdict, silence became my favorite sound. It was the sound of justice finally breathing. I'm sitting in a small cafe in Brooklyn Bay Ridge, near where I grew up, drinking tea and reading the morning paper. It's been 3 weeks since I sold the townhouse. 3 weeks since Damien stood outside those gates, screaming my name like a man possessed. 3 weeks since I walked away. The headline is small, page 6 of the Times. Easy to miss if you're not looking. Real estate mogul arrested in multi-state fraud scheme involving secret marriage. I read it twice. Let the words settle. Damien Monroe, 58, founder of Monroe Capital, was arrested Wednesday on charges of bigamy, elder financial abuse, and wire fraud. Prosecutors allege Monroe fraudulently obtained property through coercion and forged psychiatric evaluations to declare his legal wife incompetent. The scheme allegedly involved a second marriage performed in Antigua while still legally married in New York State. There's a photograph, Damien in handcuffs, being led out of his office building. His face is gray. Hollow. He looks 20 years older than he did a month ago. I don't smile. I just fold the paper and finish my tea. The arrest happened fast, faster than even Robert Chen expected. Once the bigamy charge was filed, everything else unraveled. The forensic accountant found offshore accounts, forged signatures, money moved illegally between business and personal funds. Investors pulled out within hours. The board of Monroe Capital held an emergency meeting and removed him as CEO before the sunset. 40 years of building an empire. Gone in a day. Serena tried to run. I heard this from Margaret, who called me crying, begging for forgiveness. I'm not sure I'm ready to give yet. Serena fled to her mother's house in Connecticut, but the new buyer of the townhouse, the philanthropic developer, filed a lawsuit against her for harassment and attempted contract interference. Apparently, she showed up at the property 3 times, screaming at construction workers, claiming the house was stolen from her. The judge issued a restraining order. She's due in court next month. Margaret also told me something else. Something I didn't expect. She turned on Damien. After the arrest, federal investigators contacted her, asked if she had any knowledge of financial irregularities, and Margaret, terrified, desperate to protect herself, handed over documents, emails, text messages, proof that Damien had been planning this for years, proof that she knew. "I didn't think he'd actually do it," Margaret sobbed over the phone. "I thought it was just talk, just frustration. But it wasn't." And now she's a witness for the prosecution. The company she worked for, one of Damien's subsidiaries, fired her the next day. "Ethics violation," they said. "I didn't need to ruin them." Their lies had already done that. Paul Hendricks, the attorney, lost his license. The state bar found that he knowingly participated in fraud, forging documents, falsifying medical records, conspiring to commit elder abuse. His practice, built over 30 years, dissolved in 2 weeks. I heard he's working as a paralegal now, somewhere in New Jersey. I see Damien sometimes, in my mind. Not the man who screamed at the gate, but the man I married. The one who cried at his mother's funeral. The one who told me I saved his life. I wonder if he ever loved me. Or if I was always just a means to an end. I don't have an answer. Maybe I never will. They used to whisper that I'd lost my mind. Now they avoid their own reflections. Julian called last week. My son. The one who stopped answering my calls. The one Damien convinced I was unstable. He apologized, said he didn't know, said Damien lied to him, manipulated him, made him believe I was dangerous. "I should have listened to you," he said, voice breaking. "I'm so sorry, Mom." I told him I loved him. That I forgave him. Because anger is exhausting. And I've been tired for too long. We're having lunch next Sunday, just the two of us, at that little Italian place he used to love as a kid, the one with the red checkered tablecloths and the pasta his grandmother used to make. Small steps. That's all healing ever is. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in Park Slope. It's small, cozy. The kind of place I would have designed for myself 30 years ago if I'd believed I deserved it. The walls are white. The light is soft. There's a window that looks out over Prospect Park, and in the mornings, I watch joggers and dog walkers and families pushing strollers. I drink my coffee slowly now. I don't rush anymore. There's a photograph on my desk, my father and me standing on the porch of our old house in Staten Island. I'm 7 years old, gap-toothed, holding a popsicle. He's smiling down at me like I'm the most important thing in the world. I look at it every day. And I think, you were right, Dad. I'm tougher than I thought. Some debts don't need to be collected. Life has its own way of balancing the books. I don't know what happens to Damien after the trial. I don't ask. I don't search his name online or follow the news coverage. Because his story isn't mine anymore. I've closed that chapter. And for the first time in decades, I'm writing a new one. One where I'm not an afterthought, not invisible, not erased, just me. Chiara, 51 years old, architect, survivor, free. And that's enough. After the noise fades, what's left isn't victory, it's understanding. I'm standing on the small balcony of my Park Slope apartment, wrapped in the shawl my father gave me the Christmas before he died. It's wool, soft, the color of storm clouds. I wear it most evenings now, when the air turns cold and the city settles into that particular kind of November stillness. Below me, Brooklyn hums. Cars, voices, the distant sound of a saxophone from the jazz bar on the corner. Life, continuing. I used to think justice meant watching them fall. But it doesn't. Justice isn't about their punishment, it's about my freedom. Damien's trial is next month. His lawyers are trying to negotiate a plea deal, 5 years, maybe 7, depending on what the prosecution accepts. Serena's lawsuit was dismissed, but she's broke now, living with her mother. The baby's due in 3 months. I wonder sometimes what kind of life that child will have. But then I stop wondering. Because their story isn't mine to carry anymore. Margaret sent me a letter last week. Handwritten, 6 pages. She apologized, said she was ashamed, said she didn't know how to face me. Asked if we could meet for coffee. I haven't responded yet. Not because I'm angry, but because forgiveness isn't something you owe someone just because they ask for it. Forgiveness is something you give yourself when you're ready to stop carrying the weight of what they did. And I'm not there yet. But I will be. Julian came over yesterday. We walked through Prospect Park, the leaves crunching under our feet, the air sharp and clean. He told me about his job, his girlfriend, his plans to visit more often. "I'm proud of you, Mom," he said, out of nowhere. I looked at him. For what? For not letting them destroy you. I didn't know what to say, so I just squeezed his hand. And we kept walking. There's something I haven't told anyone yet. The buyer of the townhouse, the philanthropic developer who closed the deal in 48 hours, wasn't a stranger. Her name is Elena Rodriguez. She's the daughter of my father's best friend, Miguel. The man who taught my father how to play chess. The man who stood beside him at my mother's funeral and told me, years later, that my father was the best man he'd ever known. Elena reached out to me a week after the sale closed. We met at a cafe in Dumbo. She's in her 50s now, elegant, kind-eyed. She told me she'd been following my father's estate for years. That when she heard about the townhouse, about what Damien had done, she knew she had to help. Your father once told me, she said, stirring her coffee, that the only legacy worth leaving is the one that protects the people you love, even after you're gone. She bought the mansion not to profit from it but to give me a way out. A way to reclaim what was mine. I'm turning it into housing for older women escaping financial abuse, she said. 12 units, safe, affordable, staffed with legal advocates and therapists. I cried. Not because I was sad, but because I realized my father was still protecting me. Even now. Even from beyond. I donated half the sale proceeds to Elena's foundation. The rest, I'm using to rebuild. Not the life I had, but the one I should have always had. I've started drawing again. Not professionally. Just for myself. Small sketches, buildings I'll never design, cities I'll never visit, but they're mine. And that's enough. I used to believe love meant giving everything. Now I know love also means knowing when to stop. Some nights I talk to my father. Not out loud, just in my head. I tell him about Julian, about the apartment, about the peace I'm starting to feel. And I imagine him sitting on that old porch in Staten Island, pipe in hand, smiling at me the way he used to. You did good, Key. You did real good. Justice gave me back my name. But peace gave me back myself. I think about Damien sometimes. Not with anger, not even with pity. Just with clarity. He didn't destroy me because he was cruel. He destroyed me because I let him. For 23 years, I made myself smaller so he could feel bigger. I gave and gave and gave, thinking that's what love was. But love isn't erasure. It's not sacrifice without boundaries. It's not losing yourself to prove your worth. Real love saves you, honors you, holds space for you. And anything less than that isn't love. It's just captivity with better lighting. Betrayal doesn't break us. It reveals us. It shows us who we've been, who we've allowed others to make us, and who we're capable of becoming. When we finally choose ourselves. People think revenge is loud, but true justice is quiet. It walks in silence and leaves with everything. Damien stole my marriage. I took back my life. If you've ever lost yourself trying to love someone who only saw your worth in numbers, I hope my story reminds you, it's never too late to choose yourself. Thank you for keeping these stories alive, stories where justice doesn't shout, it heals. I pull the shawl tighter around my shoulders. Close the balcony door. Turn off the lights. Tomorrow, I'll wake up in my small apartment. Make coffee in my chipped blue mug, the one I found at a thrift store in Bay Ridge. Sit by the window and watch the city wake up. And I'll be grateful. Not for what I lost, but for what I found. Myself. Finally. Completely. Free.